Know me, I'm a channel. Who I am is not important. What I am is important because I am you. I am an embodiment of compassion and grace, particularly in these instances of what's going on with the Gaia Collective and Mother Earth. I am here as a bridge of consciousness to channel information from not just ascended beings and angelics like I normally do, but collectives that represent and embody us as a human race. And I want to talk about that for a minute because there's been a lot of misconceptions that have come to my awareness about our work with the hurricane and about why we're doing this, about why we're also starting a nonprofit to help globally, to help people around the world. That started this weekend. So there's been many concerns about why we're doing this. We're not trying to save Earth, if you will. This is not about Earth. What the Gaia Collective and the Hopi, especially White Feather, who's been channeling with me for 4 days and 4 nights now, relentlessly, what they have stated is that this is a karmic reset. And if the human conscious collective goes in a way of negative frequencies, especially that which are represented now, shame, anger, and resentment, they're very vitriolic, powerless, fear-based frequencies that have been the status quo for the human conscious collective masses for a long time, for the past 20 years. So in this shift into what we call the new earth, which is what we as humans have been wanting, what we've been calling for, and what we've been manifesting, this ascension, if you will, that's what many people are calling it. During that, what happens is a natural cleansing or reset, and it can be incredibly destructive. So when these guides have been working with me, they called me to start a nonprofit organization to gather funds and personally distribute them to people, because it teaches you how to have more focus individually and as a collective. It teaches unity, forgiveness, compassion, and inevitably grace as a human conscious collective. So this is about transmutation. So if, for instance, we take this grand opportunity that Hurricane Irma and all of the fires, here in the United States and all around the world represent and offer to us, if we take these opportunities, we begin to transmute the negative that these hurricanes and fires represent. Again, what's being shown to me from the Hopi today is that there is a represented collective of shame, grief, despair, anger, resentment. Okay, those are the top things. The shame is the biggest one because it kind of collectively pulls everything into something that needs transmutation via forgiveness. Forgiveness is the foundation, according to what the Hopi have shared today and the past 3 days with me. Forgiveness is that foundation to the cleansing, so that we no longer have to have these massive, disastrous, destructive global resets where there needs to be death and suffering. We can come together today, not necessarily that it will prevent a hurricane, but that we can learn what this is all about, understand what resets and cleansings are, so that we don't have to have them in the future, because we're headed to the new earth. And as we go in that direction, we individually and collectively can unite together to teach each other how to not get so stuck and trapped and restricted in those core beliefs that caused all of this to begin with. Okay. There is another concern that was brought to my plate today, and the Hopi jumped on it. They just completely jumped on this question. So the question that someone offered to me was, okay, is Hurricane Irma, which is on everybody's minds and hearts right now, is it natural? Is this created by HAARP? Is this created by, unnatural resources, Illuminati, if you will, the cabal? There have been many things that humans call on these sources of destruction. I'm not going to deny that that could possibly be the case. However, I will also state that if it is the case, the problem is that we are the ones that collectively created the cabal. Our negative frequencies that we need to cleanse and reset created the alignment to something like that to begin with. So for me to channel HAARP right now, or to channel the Illuminati, or to channel the negative forces that help to create. I do not feel, according to what Hopi is stating, that they have created this event fully, that this has been a collective problem between some unfortunate and unnatural created events. I don't really think it's HARP. I think it's something else. According to what Hopi is sharing, HARP has been out of the picture for a long time, guys. HARP is not, there's not one specific thing that you need to worry about. It's the creation of these unnatural events because of our frequency, because of our shame-based, fear-based, powerless-based human conscious collective, our resentment and anger that comes from all of that. That is what created the alignment, okay? That is what the Hopi is here to share with you today, to stop giving your power to outside extraneous circumstances such as HARP or the Cabal or Illuminati or weather control in general, although this is partially summoned by that. This started out as a hurricane that we naturally created, and then it was added to by unnatural creations. But that too, that unnatural creation, as you have called it, the Hopi is making very clear that we aligned with that, and we need to stop aligning with that. We need to learn how to cleanse ourselves individually, start with our divine heart centers, the forces within us that cause that shame, and unpeel ourselves subconsciously. Layer by layer, we need to individually, emotionally cleanse so that as a collective, the Cabal, HARP, geothermal dynamics, and other things that you are concerned about would no longer even be in alignment. Do you see where the Hopi are coming from in that expression? Here's another concern that was brought to my attention today. We're just going through these one by one, and I'm just bringing through the answers that they've been sharing over the past few days and now. Another concern that was brought in my direction that they wanted me to discuss was the idea that there is a punishing, punitive God, and that if we get together collectively to try to bend and interfere with hurricane forces, that we are therefore playing God and interfering with free will in an unnatural way. And what the Hopi are sharing with me today, and they have shared with me this yesterday and the day prior and the day prior, is that we are gods. We are a projection of those same gods. We are a part of the same being, from the negative and the positive states, that which unnaturally created this event, Irma, and that which naturally created this event, Irma. So we are a part of that, and to give your power over into thinking that you are not divine creative masters and that you could not, if you wish, control the weather, would be lending to more feelings and negative imprints and beliefs of powerlessness and feeling restricted and shamed. So the kingdom of God is within you, and it is something that the Hopi is reminding me to share. So it's a, as above, so is below. It's that. They say it in their own language, which I cannot speak very well, but this is the English translation. So every bit of the universe that is created within free will, all of the access to free will is your choice. It's not about interfering with free will. You are divine creators. You are here to intervene and interfere and create with yourselves. You are the hurricane. You are the bodies. You are the spirits. You are all that exists and that does not, is what they're saying. So weather does not exist. Your bodies do not exist. Your spirits exist. And the emotions that you're lending are the creative tools that can shape and bend your divine mastery with your free will. Do you understand that? You understand how we can be creative masters in this? It's not about playing God. We are God. We're here to play. We're here to create, is what they're saying. You're not playing. You are gods. Collectively, we are that one source. And the person who asked me this question earlier went on to ask me how come I had not channeled Father God or Mother God or some collective group of beings that called themselves something. And the Hopi stated this would defeat your purpose of understanding that you are those beings. And those beings are you. All of you can speak with those beings individually or collectively. So to think otherwise would be lending to the frequencies of disempowerment, lack of forgiveness, and the restriction and shame that a religion has caused, because it is the religion and politics that have been the driving forces of destruction to cause things like Hurricane Irma, Hurricane Harvey, all of the fires that are bleeding through and ravaging through Oregon right now and the United Kingdom. So we are not here to play God. We are gods, and we are here to volunteer in the most exciting time, according to what the Hopi are sharing. We're not here to be victims, okay? But we're not here to be victors either. We're not here to own or control everything. We're here to work together in the human conscious collective. Grace is unity. And with that grace, everything is already divinely perfect, and there is nothing to save. So we are not saving you. The Hopi isn't here today to save you from the hurricane. They're here today simply to remind you of the process of cleansing and transmutation, and to answer your questions, and to give you specific tools on how to go through the frequencies of forgiveness, releasing of the shame, releasing of the anger, and allowing yourself to run that full gambit of human emotions and frequencies without necessarily believing that something is bad, that something's going to kill you, that something is wrong, that something should or should not exist, okay? So this is different because on one hand, we want to heal and transmute and bring people out of an impending possible physical disaster. And on another hand, we want you to rise above that and understand that the physical can shift from the transmutations of the emotions that caused it. Why? Because it doesn't exist. Because it is the collective dream. Do you understand what they're saying? The Hopi showed me something last night in my astral projections and in my dream time, that we as a collective are going through various pieces of dreams and putting them together. And when I was looking at it, it felt like looking at a drive-through movie where things were just flashing in front of my face very rapidly, and there was potentials, okay? There were potentials, and I saw Florida completely underwater. And they said, okay, now work on seeing it completely whole. And I cried, and I was angry, and I said, well, that's not what's happening. She's category 5 right now, slamming straight into Miami. And as much as I've talked to her and the collective and talked to you, the Hopi, it still appears that when I get visions clairvoyantly, it looks like everything is underwater, all the way up into Tampa. So at that point, we did a little exercise that they wanted me to share with you today, and it was not the easiest exercise. They asked me, okay, visualize it. You are in it. You are the woman that you see right now holding that baby with a soggy diaper and no clothes and crying because she's cold. You are the person whose grandparents are stuck there. You know, you are the amputee who cannot drive himself or herself out. You are the person, you know, who lives in the tiny trailer, you know, who is terrified and shaking and having panic attacks. How do you feel about this? And I got very angry. You know, I'm human. And when I was transmuting this, my first feeling was anger, and I was resentment, and I was resentful. And I said, why is this happening to us? You know, because the human in me came out, and then Irma came forth, and she said, you are speaking and transmuting for the collective. So you speak for me, and I speak for you. Humans are angry at what's happening to them because they perceive that something can happen to them. And I am here to show them that I am them, and I am cleansing what they have asked me to cleanse. And I found her to be callous, vitriolic, and shameful. And I cried further, and she said, oh, you poor baby. You're going to die. Are you scared? And she mocked me. She was not a fun being to channel. You know, you can't save the multitudes of people that are following you. And I just looked at her and I said, wait a minute, you're right, I cannot save them. What's bad about that? Tell me what's bad about that. if it's a shared dream and I can make all this go away because you don't exist, and if I created you and the whole world created you, what's bad about it if I cannot save them? And she said, okay, now you're getting it. I'll go to category 4. And I woke up and I looked at the news and she was at category 4. Do you see where I'm trying to go with what Irma as a collective and what the Hopi have been sharing with me about transmutation? I did not run from those emotions. I sat with them and I allowed myself to get angry. I literally got up out of my bed, went and sat in the living room and got extremely aggravated. I hopped on to my spiritual community and I noticed some people there were kind of lashing out at me for wanting to help. And then I got angry that they were lashing out. And then I sat with that. And then I felt ashamed, for trying to help. Oh, wait a minute. What if they're right? What if I am disrupting the collective? And then I sat with that. And then I felt Irma overcome me once more. And it felt terrible. She pulled me into every part of my cellular resistance that I'm ashamed of. And I sat there. I haven't slept for a couple days. And she said, oh, you're not getting enough done. Look at you. She's very vitriolic. And we went through that. And she was like, you're a healer and you're not even healing yourself fast enough. If you're such a healer, why did your ribs recently break? Had an accident. She pulled about every single thing that I was ashamed of. If you're such a healer, you should be able to answer all of these messages right now that are crying for help and saving and funds. You're a nonprofit, go save them all. What's wrong with you, healer? And I cried. And then I went into forgiveness. And the Hopi came in and they said, okay, if you want to get rid of it, forgive yourself. Obviously, you think it's true. Obviously, you are representing the collectives that believe that they are not good enough, that they have a right to shame themselves, that they have a right to be angry at someone disempowering and shaming them and putting them in a position, allegedly, to be powerless. So at that point in time, I sat and I sang the Ho'oponopono and the forgiveness to myself, to every part of myself that needed forgiveness, to every part of my body that I shamed too. It's physical with me. It's physical for many of you who come through these, the Magdalene Order and the Divine Feminine and Gaia Collective. I went through all of I'm not good enough in relationships. I'm not good enough in my channelings. I'm not good enough in my parenting skills. I'm not good enough in my friendships. I'm not there for my friends. I went through every single thing. And this is what I urge you to do too, because this is what they're teaching me that we all do as humans. And this shaming, this internal critic, this disempowering nature of feeling like something can come in and take away and control everything. It was following me in my business life as well. I was making some business changes and called a high-risk business processor and declined by several credit card companies. Then I went to GoFundMe to create funds to send to you guys. And they're on hold right now, so I'm paying you out of my pocket. About broke. It's worth it because I trust. But nonetheless, GoFundMe is saying you have this, but we have to just verify you, so give us a while. And when they said this, I'm like, but I need these funds now. We need to save people now. And I felt it coming out of my mouth and I had to correct it because we're not here to save people. We're not here. We're here to be compassion in action. And here is another thing that Hopi were representing. So many people were coming to me and saying, leave it alone. Stop trying to save them. That got to me too. And the Hopi pulled that through me and us. And I sat there and transmuted that. And I urge you to do the same, because people were coming saying, well, send light, send peace to the eye of the storm, send love, send this. And the Hopi said, you're not ready to send that. You have not transmuted through the proper steps of frequency. You cannot jump from shame to anger and resentment, these vitriolic emotions where you shame yourself and trap yourself and disempower yourself, to peace, love, unity, grace. You are not ready for that, and that is not authentic. That is not the place where you stand. We cannot jump straight into meditation by just sending love when we don't even love ourselves. Are you following me? So I sat there and cried and forgave the part of me that did not love myself. And I did it for you as well. And I did it for my friends, and I did it for my family. And I'm here to teach you today that you, according to the Hopi and according to the Gaia Collective that represents Irma, take where you are and move it up a step at a time. If you're not at peace and sending that to the outer storm, if you're not at love, go a little bit deeper. Okay, what's there? You know, for me, it was compassion. I needed to forgive myself and to forgive myself on the behalf of Human Conscious Collective and all the people that I felt like I was letting down. And I then needed to step into compassion. What is compassion? Compassion is not saying, well, none of this is real, guys, so let's just sit here and meditate. That's Irma coming through me, by the way. She's a real bee. Pardon me. But she's this way, and she makes me really angry because she's so patronizing, and she started talking to me like an angry little child. And she said, yeah, you know what? Just go ahead and forgive yourself and just pray and be peaceful and make it all better, little child. And then I got angry again because that was the frequency that I needed to work through. And she catalyzed the crap out of me until I got angry, because the anger was the cleansing that I needed to take the next step up after that. Because I wasn't ready to forgive myself without being angry first at all the people and alleged external things that supposedly patronize and supposedly disempower. And she goes, okay, now is that real to you? And I cried and I said, oh, no, none of that's real. None of that's real. And that's when we took it a step further. And compassion felt strange. Compassion in this new way, after having forgiven myself and been angry and let that out and let that cleanse me, compassion did not feel like such a betrayal. Compassion didn't feel like, oh, be compassionate from afar, but let Mother Earth do her cleansing. Compassion felt like, what would I want to do if I were those beings? What would I want to do if I were the amputee? What would I want given to me? How would I want to be supported? And it started to come to me, and the Hopi started to speak. And she said, okay, you want support during, before, and after. You want emotional support. You want validation. You want money, because that is human. It is unfortunately the paradigm that you are still in, and you want plenty of it, and you want to not be ashamed to ask the world to donate to you. And I kind of went forth at that time, came out of my meditation, went back into my spiritual community, and I started looking for people actively who needed funds and who needed emotional support and who needed resources, who needed to know, where to go to the nearest bus stop and train station. And this was compassion in action. We had blocks along the way. Uber raised their prices right in the middle of a hurricane. Apparently they do that. Uber would take certain cards and not take certain cards, and that put forth a transaction. The funds that I would send to people would be blocked because PayPal needed verification if the other person's account was new. And there was block after block after block to go through to begin to help people, and there still are. So I want you to understand that what you're doing is, you can't just jump to the higher planes and jump to the higher perspective, because you as a human conscious collective are not primarily there yet. Some of you are, and for those of you who are, by all means, so don't listen to me. Go straight to the higher planes and step into peace if that is true for you. But I also want you to be completely honest with yourself. Earth is on fire. This is the manifestation that we've created. Do I want to sit here and say it's not real? It's real to the people whose houses are burned up. It's real to those in that collective who have lost all their belongings, who lost children and pets, whose loved ones died in those storms in Harvey. It is real to those beings, in St. Martin right now. Very real to them, okay? So for us just to stand aside from other countries and other environments and send compassion because we are allegedly in a higher collective of peace without action, unfortunately, can be a little bit useless, because we in the fifth dimensional collective, for those of you who are there, I'm fourth. I'm not quite there yet. I'm bridging two different collectives in the human consciousness. So for those of you in the third, you need to lift. You need to forgive yourself and take this step by step. Okay, anger, release it. If you feel shame, forgive it. Let the anger cleanse you. If you are depressed, give support and love and validate that you feel depressed. If you are anxious, send love to that. If you step from anxiety to agitation to anger, allow yourselves to go up the scale of the frequencies in your consciousness, being completely authentic to where you are, those of you in the third dimension. For those of you in the fifth dimension who are teaching non-duality, you're coming across as a little bit callous. I'm sorry. That came straight from the Hopi Collective, because what you're doing is, I'm going to go forward and I'm going to just teach my workshops and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. This is from the Hopi, not from me. Please don't get mad. And I'm going to ignore the pain and suffering that's going on in the third dimension right now because it's not affecting me. And I'm just going to send some peace from my nice, cozy couch. Again, Hopi Collective, not me. Don't shoot the messenger, please, but they're asking me to be incredibly forthcoming. I did not write notes today. They're just coming as they will. I didn't write a mission statement for them to come through with like I normally do and read it to you. None of that is happening today. Fifth dimension, you are over here. Third dimension is over here. Go into the painful. Go into what you perceive doesn't exist, the suffering, and open up your hearts and your pocketbooks and your hands to hug people. Stand in the midst of what you believe doesn't exist. Because if you are too far over here, the rest of the people that are here in the third dimension, they need you. You see where I'm coming from, fifth dimension? Course in Miracles followers, suffering doesn't exist, duality teachers, okay? 50% of your population on Earth right now is not in your perspective. Please help them because they need you. From Hopi. No shame. They're completely neutral about it. They are not shaming you. They're asking you to do this. It's the bread and the butter, the handshake and the hug, not the internet support, not the "are you okay" message in the text, the "how can I serve you?" Fifth dimension, you are here to be helpful. And the third dimension needs you at this time. Grace is action whenever you are serving and you are helping. Compassion is necessary to lift the third dimension, and it is not inactive compassion. It is not meditating from behind your screens. Okay, no shame in what the Hopi are saying. If that is all that you can truly do, then that is all that you can truly do. But is it all that you can truly do, is what Irma now states. And let's hope she doesn't get snarky. She said, is it all that you can really do? Can you reach out and stay for an hour with someone that's having a panic attack right now because their roof is blowing off? Can you call them on the phone and hold a compassionate space for them? Can you sit with someone who just lost someone that they love? People who are having to make inevitably difficult decisions, like leaving elderly parents because the parents will not come. And their children and grandchildren need to leave. And they have to leave behind loved ones. And they are shaming themselves over it. Can you sit with those people, pick up the phones, pick up your technological devices? That's what Hopi is saying. And use them for something other than idleness. I knew this would be a difficult message. Hopi states, after 9/11 was the greatest unity that we have seen in your collective since our times. There are very few of us who haven't ascended. There are very few of us left because we started to feel that humanity had a futility about them and this powerless, that they would continue to destruct and go into destruction and reset the collectives due to these lower frequencies time and time again. So we began to leave. But we noticed after 9/11 that for the first time in a long time, there was unity, there was compassion in action, and for a brief moment in time, there was grace. For a brief moment in time. We urge you to remember this and to return to that brief window of opportunity where you experienced grace, where you were bringing food to each other, showing up at the doorsteps and bringing your compassionate support to people who had lost. After Hurricane Harvey, you had a brief moment. Many of you left your jobs, left your homes, and traveled in boats with gas cans, gas cards, food, support. You opened up your homes, and for a brief moment in time, you had grace. And then Harvey was forgotten. The people that are there still need your help. We are still not ascended. And fifth dimension, whether or not you believe that Earth has a problem, we still believe that they do. And we still believe that they need your help. We still believe that they need emotional help in a spiritual setting that is safe. So what can you do? Ask yourself this question today, and then ask, am I truly doing all that I can do? Let's start looking at your questions. They've been pretty forthcoming for about half an hour now, but they're saying that there are some important questions. All the collectives are. Oh, that's really sweet of you to ask how I'm feeling. The question is, how am I feeling and how is my ribs? And after the last podcast, I didn't act like myself. No, I have not acted like myself since after the eclipse. Absolutely. Yes, my ribs are absolutely hurting. But I'm not paying attention to physical pain right now because I'm aware that I am not my body. What I'm paying attention to is what we're all paying attention to. Okay, so thanks for asking. Namaste, Pamela. I've had these issues for decades. Please guide and help. Okay. Despite being healthy, I barely have any sex life. Irma is asking you, is that applicable during the times when you don't love the reproductive organs within you and you don't love your part of the body that would be that physical expression? The Hopi are answering and they're stating, it is sometimes an imbalance between the divine masculine and the divine feminine that causes people to not have any energetic output in their creative expression of the great winds and the great fires. So the great winds and the great fire, that's Kundalini and breath is what they're talking about, just so you know. They speak a little unusually at times. So what they're saying is, in order to activate the great winds, breathe. This is a tantric practice. In order to activate the great fire, feel confident in your physical expression of your sexuality. Okay, this takes practice. I agree with them. I suggest that you go towards a tantric practice. What is the view of the meaning of being a parent? The Hopi states you are expressing another aspect of you, and a part of your own essence agrees to incarnate through you. Nothing can catalyze you like the spirit of a child. There is no greater gift than the act of creation, and this is the ultimate act of creation. And you have agreements in the soul with your child to catalyze you to your greatest benefit, to your highest and best within all that you are here in fulfillment of your mission. How do I transmute low frequency feelings such as fear, exhaustion, etc., into high frequency feelings such as happiness and bliss? Okay, you have Gaia again, and she says, again, it is the scale of consciousness. So you cannot go from here to here. So ask yourself, what is your next step? What would you feel? Choose to feel what you're feeling, as it is there for a reason and it serves you. After this validation is complete and you have sat with this emotion and it has cleansed you, you have purged. This is how Gaia purges as a collective as well. Then ask yourself the significant question, what would serve me now? And it is not always the question, what would I rather feel instead, as occur in many of your processes. It is, what would serve me now? And then feel that, sit with it, purge, release, and then ask again, what would serve me now? Continue until completion. When you are ready and when it serves you, you will feel bliss. But why? Choose bliss when it does not serve you in any given moment. How can we identify our spirit animal? You have the Hopi, and they're stating, when you seek out your connection with the animal kingdoms here on Gaia, which call you in the eyes? We would look the cats directly into the eyes, the birds directly into the eyes, and when we would feel our souls becoming the cat, becoming the lion, becoming the bird, and we would know that we have been called and we have been chosen from this animal. Please do the same. What is the best practice to connect with my higher self? Is it meditation? Should I ask questions and monitor dreams? Irma says, the best practice of connecting with your higher self is by looking at everything that you believe is external, everything that you believe harms you, everything that you believe threatens you, everything that you believe is of danger, for it is you, and then love it, forgive it, and invite it into your essence and claim it as you. It's hard. Hold on, I'm just letting that sink in for a minute because you have another one wanting to repeat the question, what is the best practice to connect with my higher self? The Hopi states, we are the people of the dream time, and we are its original founders, along with all of our ancestors in the Aboriginals. When you connect to the dream time, set your intention, and do not set your intention in any mild manner. The Hopi are not afraid of their dream time. They are not afraid to ask specifically what is in their highest and best. They are not afraid of anything within the dream time and anything in the external, for they are aware that the dream time and the waking moments are one and the same. The best connection to your higher self is by maximizing the dream time. When you awaken after meditation or after what you call lucid dreaming or sleep, ask us and ask your higher self and simply state, my intention is for this learning to continue, for this energy state to continue, for this knowledge to continue in its revelation throughout my day. Be specific. We often would state to continue in its revelation throughout the next day until sunset. We would state that, and within the power of the sunset, we would then release and cleanse all that we learned. And then upon closing our eyes again, we would ask again, we want to know what is in our highest and best in this moment. And then when we awaken in the sunrise, we are there to learn, and then to transmute, and then to cleanse before the sunset. You have the Gaia Collective to answer your question again. The question being, what is the best practice to connect with my higher self? And Gaia says, to understand that you can never be disconnected, that you are your higher self at all times, that there is never a disconnect. In every moment, it is your higher self. How could it be anything different? Looking through your questions. Can the Ho'oponopono prayer help Hurricane Irma? Yes, absolutely. You know, and there is one that the Native Americans taught to me when I was, I don't know, in my mid-teens or so. I started singing this one. Of course, you know, my lawn company is going to take now to be the opportunity that that they cut the entire front lawn. If you guys can hear that too badly, or that's going to disrupt the programming, I'll look, they're going away. I don't know. Let's just see if it gets bad. I'm sure that the listeners will tell us if it's bad, and if it is, we'll go tell them to cut the back first. Yeah. And I'll just speak up whenever they are crossing the threshold and cutting the grass right in front of my office. Normally we channel on Saturdays, so we don't get this blockage. So they did share one, and we'll come back to it. Remind me. I'd rather just, instead of singing it for you right now, it's probably going to be disrupted and bad for the recording. So I'll just go ahead with your questions, and then I'll come back and sing the Ho'oponopono that the collectives taught me. Okay. What are the goals that Gaia has right now? If she is cleansing, is there a specific theme? She says the theme is removing shame, forgiveness, cleansing of anger, release of the need for retribution and punishment, release of the need of feeling disempowered. Feeling disempowered shall no longer serve you after this cleansing. Inevitably, the reset stems from unity, compassion in action, and grace. And these are our goals. What is the message from Irma? Why this? Why now? She said, the message is, this is you and you are this. And it can be nothing but. You are not being punished. You are not being disempowered. You called forth this cleansing, and you have known it was coming. You have been shown many dreams, many synchronicities, many signs, as you call them. And you have been feeling worse and worse. There is more despondency, despair, war, political strife, religious control than ever before on your planet. Your human conscious collective has asked for the release of this control. And we are helping in this. You are helping in this, for we are representative of you. Is Irma a bioengineered storm? Yes and no. Irma started out natural, and then she became bioengineered, is what I noticed. Okay. Granted, keep in mind what she stated before, you also align based upon the feelings and frequency of disempowerment and the need to be served by disempowerment and restriction and things of that nature. As that served you at that time, that is why the human 3D conscious collective is still aligned with the Cabal's control within the Illuminati and bioengineered storms. Just looking at your questions, give me a second. How do we keep our vibration elevated? Uh-oh, yeah, Irma. Every time she comes in, I'm like, oh God. But I'm going to honor her. She says, why are you trying to be something that you are not? Honor the frequency at which you stand. It is serving you. It will not be purged. It will not be cleansed until you honor how you feel. Others will be drawn to you, and you will be drawn to heal and cleanse yourself. When you need compassion, compassion will come. When you need forgiveness, forgiveness will come. It will come when it's ready. And if you are not ready, please stop lashing, blaming, shaming, whether it be towards the Illuminati, towards this force that you call storm. Stop externalizing. Take accountability for what you created, cleanse it. You are not being punished. You are God's. Take back your power now. Wait, you have Gaia. In regards to how to keep your frequency elevated, it is a step-by-step process. You are divinely loved. You are the divine mothers. You are the divine fathers. You are the children, but you are not the servants, and you also are not the masters. Where is your balance point? Where is your balance of receiving all that is with love and acceptance? Release your judgment of yourself. Then and only then can you cease your judgments externally. And then and only then can you truly lift your vibration. Vibration is the hindrance. Judgment is the hindrance to all low life. I'm going to repeat that again because the lawn company is really distracting me. Judgment is the hindrance and the block to the transmutation of all negative frequencies and energies into higher vibrational resonance. If you can release judgment and start by releasing judgment of yourself, giving yourself permission to feel how you feel, but with compassion and acceptance, not with lashing out. Just because you feel a certain way towards someone else, does this give you the right to judge them, to shame them, to be lacking in compassion towards them? This is a concern in humanity that we bring forth at this time. Giving yourself validation does not mean lashing out and harming others with your frequency and with your emotions. You are to be compassionate at all times towards others, and there is no exception to this vibrational rule. Oh, I keep trying to go on, and then the other collective will come through. Now you have the Hopi, and you have White Feather, and he's holding up a feather. I wish I had one next to me but I don't. He's holding up a feather, and he's moving it in a certain direction. Hold on a second, I might have a feather. This is when stuff gets fun, and I have to dig through my shamanic supplies and see if I have a feather. They're like, of course you do. You're a shaman. You have a feather. Hilarious, Hopi. So they're holding this up, and they're moving it in the direction of a figure 8. And they're doing like this. And can you see me? Can you see how they're moving it? And this is breath. So you breathe in the frequency that is lower dimensional. You don't try to get rid of it. You breathe in that emotion. So say this is shame. And then exhale. And when you come to that side of the circle, inhale the frequency that you're trying to get rid of. Because that's what you do. You try to get rid of. But right now, acceptance means through the great spirits of the wind, they're saying. So you breathe it in and move it through the figure 8. I'm not doing a figure 8 very well. They need to move my hands because I'm not. Okay. So we're breathing that in and then exhaling it. Breathing it in and exhaling it. And they're saying you are doing this by calling in the great spirits of the wind, coming in from all 4 directions in order to transmute via acceptance of what and who you are. Who you feel is always important. But as we have stressed through the channel today, what is the truth? What you are is what you're here to share. Therefore, ask yourself, after going through this exercise, what am I? And inhale that which you believe isn't serving you. Say it is shame. Allow the shame to permeate your entire being through the spirit of the great wind, and then ask, what am I? What am I? What am I? And now do you feel it? Something shall come. What am I? How do you feel now? I feel like doing this. And they said, I said, I am a catalyst. And Hopi said, that is who you are. And I said, I am Divine Mother. And they said, that is who you are in your role and mission, yes. And they continue to go, what are you? What are you? And now I say, I am grace. I am compassion. I am grace. I am compassion. I am grace and compassion in motion. You see how this is going? Yeah. Spirit, great spirit of the wind. Very, very powerful work. Okay. I knew when the Hopi would come through with that we could not gloss over that. So I'm sorry I'm not moving through with these questions very quickly, but there's just so many important answers coming through. What kind of energy can I contribute to the earth to raise our vibrations? Hopi, white feather. You are the current vibration of Gaia, of Mother Earth, and that within the role of the Divine Mother and the Kali. Bring forth your power, your fire. Empowerment is what you're here to share to others by sharing the truth of your voice. When is the last time you spoke the empowered truth of your voice? I know you, and I know that they are right. Divine feminine women of the earth, and men too for that matter, that represent these collectives. The divine feminine can come through various aspects of fire, earth, water. Now you have Gaia coming through. Fire, earth, wind, water, ether, metals, wood. And when this happens, it teaches you your tools. And those are your tools that the Hopi urge you to work towards today, because you are natural shamans. Okay, you are natural shamans. And when you call upon the elements of our beautiful Gaia, that is the most powerful thing you can do, because you're going to know what you are, as the Hopi call it. You're going to know that when you call upon the power of working within these elements. Which element really calls to you? If you're attracted to breath work and prana and feathers, if you like birds and you feel like you have a bird as an animal totem, if you like the feeling of the wind on your face, chances are it's air and wind. So you would call upon the great spirit of wind, and you would work within that. If you're attracted to waters and streams and oceans, chances are that your element is water, so you call upon great spirit of water. If you're attracted to mountains and earth, gardening, agriculture, chances are that your element is earth, and you would call upon the great spirit of earth. Okay. Next question. Are we in the water cycle? Irma states, you are in many cycles, and they are purging collectively and simultaneously. You are in the cycle of water, and you are in the cycle of fire simultaneously. Soon you will be in the cycle of earth. This may represent many earthquakes and mudslides and things that involve the moving and shifting of Earth's tectonic plates. Next question that you presented to her, is there an average link to a cycle? She said this depends upon the collective and how quickly they transmute their energies that cause the necessity of the cycle. Will any new lands arise from the sea? The Hopi states that has been a prophecy that is on our minds and hearts for the beginning of your time, and this has already occurred. What is a good lifespan to focus on? 100, 200, 300 years? I'm not sure, Rob, if you mean for a human lifespan or if you mean a cycle, like a lifespan for a human cycle to go through in the cleansing of these karmic purging cycles, from Mother Earth and Gaia. But for the individual lifespan, the Hopi come through and they're stating at this point it is unique and individual for the person. When humans release death thoughts and death mentality in all capacity, then they have the ability to live indefinitely. But most are not there. Looking at your questions for a moment, give me a second. How can I tell if my symptoms are related to being sensitive to the new energies that are coming in? As I've had much dizziness and nausea, and I've seen many others having the same symptoms. That's the purging Irma is stating. Most of the empaths in your collective are experiencing an immense purging and reset. So if you are coming through as the empathic channel and the physical medium, then you will have the greatest difficulty at this time. And I urge you to stand in your power in this process without releasing your power, without succumbing to fears of disempowerment and shame, without feeling stuck. Fear has permeated you, and you have often felt stuck in the midst of what you call a storm or a hurricane, and we simply call it cleansing. So as we stand to reset the collectives, you have many who reach out to help you emotionally, and you are paused in fear, and you feel disempowered, angry, and trapped, and that is valid. However, it does not serve you to stay there. Irma kind of dodged your question. We have Gaia. They only say what they say. And she says, yes, these symptoms are representing the changes in the cleansing and the purging of the collectives and the ascension process of the new beautiful earth, the new Gaia. But this can step forth and be manifested into your physical. Do not ignore your body. I had a client come to me just last week who, I think it was this week actually, she was having so many physical symptoms of ascension and her spiritual awakening that she, unbeknownst to herself, had a heart attack and ended up in the hospital. So if you are feeling really strange, trust your body. Things can happen that it's not one or the other, guys. That's my personal advice to you from what all of the collectives have shared with me as a teacher, is that it's not often one or the other. If you're having a symptom and you believe it's physical, chances are it is going into the physical. So honor your body and pay attention to her. You could also be having a medical problem. They often run hand in hand. Okay. Next question, is Nibiru a true influence and part of what we are experiencing during this purging time? Irma is nodding. I feel like my head's gonna fall off. She's like, but I'm trying to keep it calm because she's pretty agitated right now, and I don't really want to feel that in my neck. So yes, very much so. Gaia says, Nibiru comes and goes, and Nibiru is closer at this time than ever before, and Nibiru will leave and come again and leave and come again, as and this has been a concern for a while. I want to go back to because I almost forgot about it, and the Hopi reminded me of the Native American Ho'oponopono inspired chant, because this will be something that we can leave with you, that you can listen to over and over again on YouTube, and that you can create for yourself. I tend to use a singing bowl when I sing it, or just sing it without that. But it's very, very powerful. And anything involving shame, anything involving the things, the anger and the agitation, the shame, the lack of self-love, things like that need to come out of you during this specific Ho'oponopono that the collectives have shared with me. I've been using this since, like I said, in my teens or something, and it's very effective. So anything that needs to come out will come out. So we'll do it together just really, really quickly, okay? So just close your eyes and just feel it for a moment. It's one of my favorite Ho'oponopono prayers in song. I'm sorry, forgive me, I thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, forgive me, I thank you, I love you. Ho'oponopono, Ho'oponopono, Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono, Ho'oponopono, Ho'oponopono. I'm sorry, forgive me, I thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, forgive me, I thank you, I love you. Ho'oponopono, Ho'oponopono, Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono, Ho'oponopono, Ho'oponopono. And you feel how powerful it is. Did I get sound distortions? I had 3 different collectives coming through. Please tell me that it does not completely distort my sound. If it is, I'll like reset my microphone and do it again. I need a little bit of a cue right now from management if it's something I need to do again or not. Because sometimes my whole microphone will blow out. So is it distorted? I'm sorry. Forgive me. I thank you. I love you. But hopefully you heard it enough. Get back from my microphone. Was it that bad? Okay. Do you want to hear the one that the Hopi taught me? It's a little bit, I'm sorry, not the one that the Hopi taught me, the one that the Gaia Collective taught me. It's a little bit different, that if my sound distortions are going on, I won't go towards that. You want me to say? Okay, if you want me to do it again, I'll do it again, because we can edit that out and just do it completely again. Because if you didn't hear it because of sound distortions, we might just want to redo it. Is that what you want me to do? Yes? Yes or no? It's toward the very end. Okay, sing it again. All right, really quickly, because I have a couple of them to share with you. Here is the Hopi one. I'm sorry, forgive me, I thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, forgive me, I thank you, I love you. Ho'oponopono, Ho'oponopono, Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono, Ho'oponopono, Ho'oponopono. Okay. And then here is the one that I use from the Gaia Collective, which is significantly different, but they each have their use. Yeah, I knew you guys would really enjoy that. And I want you to take this throughout the weekend because it is one of my favorite ones. And I've been chanting it in my head and in the astral planes. For those of you who want to join me in the astral planes, I meet through the Gaia portals around 1:11 and 3:33 a.m. And I sing this to Irma over and over and over again. And this has been something that I've been doing, since the beginning of all of this. Okay. And if you want to do it along with me, feel free once this goes on YouTube to just, particularly if we do that at the time 1:11 p.m., 1:11 a.m., 3:11 p.m., 3:11 a.m. I'm sorry, 3:33 a.m. But there must be a reason why she channeled 3:11. So let's add that to the list. So now we have 1:11s, 3:11s, and 3:33s. Okay. If any of those times suit you, just join me. I'm doing them from the dream time and doing them in my waking state in my mind. Okay. All right. Let's take some more of your questions. Is it 3:11? That's funny. I'm not even looking at the clock. It's 4:11 here in Utah. All right. Comes through. So we have to powerfully pay attention to that. If she said 3:11, we need to do 3:11. 6:11, whatever time it was for you. Yeah, do it at that time. Let's all do that together. Okay? I think it'll really help. And this is what we need to do. This is a part of that compassion in action. If that's what we do together at those times for Gaia, and sing this to Irma, and sing this to ourselves. Gaia's correcting me a little bit here, as she often does. And she said, sing it to your own inner children. Sing it from me, your divine mother, and mother yourselves. Don't sing it to me, sing it to yourselves, and then you are singing to me, is what she said. 3:11 there in Vegas. Yeah, I got them mad sometimes. Yeah. What are the most powerful practices or daily rituals that would be helpful to bring calm and peace to Gaia and to all life at this time? Gaia says chant and prayer are powerful, not because they are associated with religion. She wants to make that clear, because when they become associated with these powerful dogmatic paradigms, then they are not powerful anymore. They are disempowering, and they are the opposite. Herman's nodding. Gaia says it's prayer, the power of the chant, the power of the prayer, the power of group intentional meditations, the power of compassion in action, the power of forgiveness individually. Forgive yourselves is what Irma is stating. When you forgive yourself daily at each and every hour of the day, whenever you're feeling something, just be aware and notice how you are hypercritical of yourself, she says. So if you are, I do this at all times. I'll stop and be like, okay, I'm working too much right now. All right. I'm eating too much right now. Okay. I'm not sleeping right now. These are things that I was observing when I was not being compassionate with myself today. And Irma was going, yeah, what you're doing right now is just part of the problem. And she was kind of like chastising me, and because that's how she works. She's a divine catalyst. So how are you being hard on yourself? How are you being unloving on yourself? And can you stop doing that and forgive yourself for doing that to yourselves? Are Hurricane Harvey and Irma somehow related to the eclipse? Yes, all of them are nodding yes to that. The eclipse was the beginning, and the Lion's Gate was the call to action, and humans were asking for an ascension, and that's what it took. This is what's happening, and this is why. Yes. Question about the location of these natural disasters. Are the specific locations that are being affected by the different hurricanes and earthquakes been chosen for this cleanse? She said, in the collectives where, in the areas, and this is from Irma, in the areas where the human conscious collectives are more dense, specifically Houston, it was a major problem, stuck in the political and religious paradigms. In Florida, it was the problem of shame. That was the heaviest collective of shame in that area. In Oregon, It is the heavy collective of powerlessness that's there, that is being cleansed. So yes, there are specific regions, and for specific reasons, those regions are representing the strongest collectives of what needs cleansed the most. Is my mic bad? Someone just said that. Someone else said they hear fine and perfectly. Let me know though if you guys can't. I'm sorry I lowered my voice, but when I speak through Gaia, she's really incredibly soft and loving, and then when Irma speaks, she's like, bleh. It just comes through how it is. Will there be some kind of cleansing coming to Europe? Yes. There's some flooding, there's some fires that are already there that are already doing the job. But there's some flooding coming to Europe, unfortunately. This is from Gaia. Yeah, there's some stuff coming there, some cleansing. Absolutely. She's mentioning, Gaia mentions there was some recent political and currency problems in the UK. And that problem was caused by greed and avarice. There was too much of that going on in the systems there. People being unwilling to serve and be compassionate and be helpful because of their greed and attachment to money. So that was an interesting cleansing. I know you guys know what I'm talking about, right? With the currency problems. Brexit, absolutely. Yeah, that's what it is. There, yeah. Where could we find more Hopi artifacts needed to fill some gaps in the human timeline study? Can we trust Ashtar messages? Uh-oh, Rob, you have Irma. Irma said, this is the problem. Lack of trust. You are the channel. You are the God. You are the beings that can access information. Many channels will bring information to you that you can trust, and many will not. But what if they are, all of these channels are pieces of the grand puzzle, and you take what piece is fitting to you, and by all means, leave the rest. If it doesn't serve you, just let it not serve you. But ask yourself, does it really serve you? For if it is catalyzing you, it may serve you deeper than you understand. It's not a matter of trust or not. Trust is not required. You have Gaia now. Within the healing and transition of New Earth, trust is not required. Trust is already there within grace. It is not necessary otherwise in humans. The Hopi are answering your question in regards to how to find Hopi artifacts needed to fill in the gaps in the human timeline study. You have White Feather, and he says, but the artifacts are metaphysical. And this has occurred in the Aboriginal cultures as well, all around the world, particularly in both the Maori and the Aboriginal cultures surrounding Uluru, that they would originally bury things, okay? And this would have a grand significance energetically, and then they would disappear and people could not find those artifacts. There have been very few of them. Hopi buried artifacts that then became metaphysical tools of ascension. So they're there as a part of Earth's ley lines and energy. They are not physical artifacts any longer. You cannot find them. It's like trying to find the Ark of the Covenant, by the way, which is a tool that's mostly in the higher chakra system up here above your head. It's not actually something that can be found. Do you see what I'm saying? Comes in through some of the Christ consciousness collectives. Hopefully that you understand that message. Isn't it fairly common at this time of the year that there are typically hurricanes? And while it's more massive than previous hurricanes, isn't there a meteorological origin for these storms? Gaia says yes, but they are coming with fervor. They are coming with greater intention and greater acts of destruction and greater cleansing, more so than ever before. And yes, they come at this time of the year. This is something that will occur within the next 5 years of humanity, and it will increase if humanity does not transmute their negative beliefs that cause them. The destruction will increase. Now is the time to unite. Now is the time to stand in compassion, action, and grace, unity, and love. Are all of the natural disasters happening over Earth leading to a great event which should take place on September the 23rd? All of them are shaking no. Irma, oh goodness. Okay. Irma says, and what is bad if it were? How would you live your lives differently? We will not give you dates. No one should know the time and dates of these occurrences accurately. And the moment you do, the knowingness thereof changes the timeline anyway, for time is a human contraption. So what would you do differently if you knew you would die on September the 23rd? I urge you to do those things now. Okay, she has a point. That wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought she was going to yell at you. Now, I didn't want her to yell at you because I love you. Can we handle the race stuff with more grace and courage? How can we heal some of the hatred and division within ourselves? Irma likes your answer. And she didn't say question, she said answer. She said, you just answered it. You just did so today in your hardest moments. How can you handle the race stuff? Does it exist for you, and why? If it does exist, how is it serving you? When it comes to the point where the racial divides serve you no further, then it will no longer be an issue in the human conscious collective. How can you heal hatred? What is the opposite of hatred? What is even close to the opposite of hatred? What if you stopped hating yourselves? What if you forgave yourselves? Forgiveness is the only cure for hatred. And when you do this at a universal level, there is no divide between you and anyone else. This would not go further. And this would not be defined as racial division, political division, religious division, for all is forgiven and all is well in the higher planes. Consider it from the higher planes. What is there to forgive? You are already perfect. If there's time, could you tell us about the cabal? I don't understand if they're alien, human, hybrid, etc. Irma, oh my God. She throws up my hands and she says, and what is there to understand? What does it matter if it's human, if it's alien, if it's hybrid, if you're walking around as fire-breathing dragons? Do I care for cleansing and serving your purposes? No, but you do. Can you tell us about the cabal? It is you. It is what you created. It is the lowest frequency of your creations. There are many hybrids of many races. Yes, they are non-sentient. Yes, you are already aware. How is it serving you? Can you please ask yourself that question? How is it serving you? And when will you choose for it to no longer serve you? I'm sorry she's that way, guys. I have my deepest apologies. She was coming through that way personally this morning too, and then I went, what am I doing? I totally shut myself down and went offline for 4 hours and had to meditate because I was being really nasty. So I apologize to those of you who got that effect. I'm just I'm sorry. Seriously. It feels like we have shifted timelines or to a different universe already. You have the Hopi. Can the Hopi tell us if this is the case and why this happened? Hopi White Feather, he says, and this has been occurring for 11 years, 11 months, and 11 days. Oh, that's funny. So now you are at the precipice. And on January the 11th of next year is another precipice. Imagine that synchronicity. You are there, but can you let go of your suffering? Can you just simply help each other through the shift? Someone said every time Irma comes through, tears run down my face. That's how I experienced her at first. When I first channeled her, I was I was at meditation, and I it was Diksha. So people come by and they bless you, and they, for those of you who understand Diksha, they come by and they put their hands like gently over your head and they give you a blessing, and it's supposed to open things up that need to be cleansed or healed or sometimes activated. And yeah, after a certain time, I just could not handle any more blessings, not even from people that I really know and love. I was just like, everybody, please stop touching me. So I went into the Shavasana room and just sat there and transmuted it and rocked and cried, just like I did in the eclipse. And I felt just so much shame and so much of that coming through, and just sitting there transmuting shame was the most uncomfortable thing. And that's how Irma was coming through, because she was helping me release from myself and the collective the massive frequencies of shame that we're all carrying. So if you feel that from her, whatever you feel when she's coming in, if you want to help us transmute her today and throughout the rest of the time that she's with us, and if you want her to serve you, bring her in here, bring her in and just breathe in, as Hopi was saying. Get out your feather if you need to as a tool, and do the figure 8 process that we were, talking about a while ago. Remember this process? And if it's shame, just breathe it in. And I tell you what, every single time you breathe in, yeah, you'll cry. It will not be comfortable. But when you're done, I remember when I was done, I was just like, oh, okay, remember that this is a dream. And then Gaia came. Remember that this can be shifted. Remember that this is not real. And I went straight back into my fifth dimensional self. Okay. So basically speaking, it can go as quickly as it comes in. So do not be afraid to let Irma come through and however she wants to cleanse and transmute for you individually, because you are helping the human conscious collective that caused the problem of Irma. When you do that, I know I said that in passing, that is the biggest message that she actually has for you today, is that when you do that, when you pull in energies that are yours through Irma, and she catalyzes and activates and then cleanses that from you, that is also what you're doing for humanity. And that's what helps in this hurricane. Okay. All right, we have a few more minutes, but tons of questions. Will Standing Rock Pipeline be resolved to the benefit of the Lakota Indian lands? You have Hopi and Irma. I'm gonna have to make Irma wait. Hopi first, please. Because they're giving some various messages. Hopi says it is for the benefit as it has currently drawn out, because it cleanses the belief in the Lakota that they are powerless, and this is not comfortable. There's a book I read that White Feather is reminding me of, and it was a long time ago. This was like standard reading for 10th grade, gifted and talented English class. So basically, the book is Ishmael by Daniel Quinn. And I always state this to people so that they're aware when they buy these books. This is not a spiritual book. You guys heard me say that, but it is a spiritual book because what they're saying talks about all of the things that caused humanity to be where they are today. And it talks about the technical, the industrial revolution, the technical industries, and how humans went from natives on the land to where we are today, and how that has served us and how it has not served us. So basically speaking, that's what it comes from. Both of those books, Ishmael and My Ishmael, were my first and biggest introduction to the Hopi Collective. They just stood around me when I read those two books, and I really understood politics and war and so much from their perspective for the first time when I read those two books. That will help you understand a lot of what you're asking, Pat, about Standing Rock Pipeline, okay? Upon the reset, however, and now we're going to Irma, she states, there will be so much cleansing that this will not be effective. Any pipeline that is there will no longer be there. It is not applicable after the cleansing. Within the new earth, no pipeline will need be in existence, and the people will have their land back, cleansed and pure and whole. Not really the answer I was looking for, but I do understand it. Yeah, someone said, okay, then. Yeah, I mean, they get what they want, but it's via a lot of cleansing, unfortunately. I believe I was a Hopi shaman in a past lifetime. I know you, and yes, you were. How can people use the knowledge from that lifetime? Through the elements. The Hopi they are master shapeshifters. They connect with all the collectives that are on Earth, the plant collective, the the animal collective, the human collective, and all the collectives that represent the divine elements that we discussed earlier when they were sharing that technique. And basically, how you can do that is by studying elemental shamanism in any way, and by asking them, inviting them into your essence to personally teach you, because you have that past lifetime experience. And for anyone who does, the Hopi will come in and teach you that. I know that they did me. And elemental shamanism is some of the most amazing things that you can do for Gaia and for this new earth transition. So, and I feel the need to really thank the elemental shamans, because I know that there are few and far between. There's so few of us out there. And if you are interested in studying elemental shamanism, you need to. Okay, you need to. And if you want the Hopi to initiate you, or if you want to sit with an elemental shaman for initiation because that's how you roll, get that happening, you know. So you're feeling a shaking all over and intense in your third and heart chakra. That's because for you who are meant to be channels that are already coming from those elemental shaman collectives, and you are, Alexis, your third eye will open when your heart does. So you'll get a vibration in one and then the other, and then one and then the other, and then it'll feel like your head's vibrating off at some point in time. Elemental shamanism is not so much about making it rain or not, but you can. It's about working with the elements for the benefit of Gaia. Yeah. So follow your path in channeling and invite the Hopi to come in. Okay. But yeah, it's about working with the elements in any way that's beneficial to you and Gaia. It can't just be like one or the other, because if it benefits you, it benefits Gaia. If you want to make it rain, White Feather says, well, then examine your intent. Why do you want to make it rain? His personality is incredibly calm. He doesn't speak very much. And when he speaks, it's like monatomic. He said, examine why you want to make it rain. Monotonous, rather. Let me look at some of your questions. I'm going to have to go here in just a few minutes, though. What about the earthquake in Mexico? Did you see the lights in the sky? It was not nature, but it was not, Hopi says it wasn't natural, but it wasn't unnatural either. Oh. He said it is an introduction to Planet X. Now, I don't personally know what he's talking about. Oh, is that who it is? Okay. Yeah, Nibiru, Planet X. So basically, and it was discovered, he says recently it was discovered on like Google Earth cameras or something. He just shows me one of our cameras. And there was a satellite that picked up on it as well. And then NASA tried to block it out, and it was green from those pictures, at least. When NASA tried to block it out, or Google Earth also tried to block it out, it was this big green flashing light, and then you could see like the governmental black block over it. He's reminding me of that. Yeah, that was the influence of Planet X. What are the spider webs in the sky in Hopi prophecy? Karmic catching. He said it's a web. It's a shamanic web weaving through and releasing the karmic realms of what humans call time. So also relieving the idea of a trap, the cycles of birth and rebirth. It's cleansing of that. just looking at your questions. Some of them have already been answered. When working on healing these natural disasters such as Hurricane Irma, should we envision them as already being healed as if it is done? Irma says, does that serve you? Because when you are transmuting and clearing and cleansing, if you envision something and you do not believe that it is done, much as with the experience of this channel today, then you will collapse with shame. You will collapse with anger, and you will be forced to powerfully sit through and integrate what needs to come to the surface. Do that first. Much of the economic resources in the world are held by a small percentage of people in the world. Will there be any type of karmic cleansing to help share these resources fairly amongst the world? Irma says, and what do you think this is about? I'm sorry, just that way. Gaia says, yes, and this has been in the process, and they are already standing outside of their power, for you are beginning to believe that they no longer serve you in this way. It is already shifting. Hopi are referring to a prophecy about a reset. And it's one of their prophecies, and they said, and we meant during this prophecy, that Earth would change, Earth would shift. The monies will be your own monies. They will be within your own exchange systems. They will not be within the dollar or the yen. They will not be your monies. It will your governmental monies. They will be your personally conjured monies that you create together as your own cryptocurrencies. And this will cause more unity than ever before. And government will have no control and taxation over these cryptocurrencies. That was specific. Good. Okay. Presumably the conditions that contributed to Harvey and Jose are present all over the earth. So is this happening as an example, as much as a physical cleansing for those areas? If so, how do we prevent this elsewhere when there are so many individuals that are asleep and buying into the fear porn? Irma said, but it is so obvious that it can no longer be denied that you are holding a spiritual collective, that it is necessary to raise your frequencies. Many things are becoming so obvious, nothing is hidden anymore. And there are deeper disclosures of political events. There are deeper disclosures of religious control and suffering that was caused. There are so many deeper disclosures occurring because of these cleansings that nothing can be denied any further. You don't need to prevent. Things are rising to the surface that are undeniable in their essence for this cleansing. You cannot change who people are. You can only work with what they are. And when you unite with that, there is love. That was Gaia. I can tell when they shift. Someone's asked me this before about what the best herb is to cleanse energies, and they've given me many different things. The Hopi is saying that it is Ashitaba root and Ashtanga, both, or Ashwataba. I'm not, pronunciations are not my thing, but you guys can Google and figure this out later. Let's see. Gaia, of course, is claiming that it is plant medicines, especially ayahuasca, but only in moderation and only once. That's an interesting answer. Irma states, your emotions are the medicine. Your emotions are coming through for cleansing, and they are your medicine. But your food can be your medicine or your death. Please pay mind to your food that you're putting in your bodies. In channeling Irma, does she remind you of the temperament of Kali? I'm very familiar with the temperament of Kali. Yes, she does, but it's stronger. It's awesome, and it's powerful. It's overwhelming. I'm pretty familiar with Kali. Kali can switch from cleansing and power to love. The moment she feels that that it's working, that the energy is working, then she'll tame it down and bring love. Irma just doesn't. Irma is just straight fire the whole way through. And I can't really compare that to anything. It's just overwhelming. But she has the effect, you know, in the time of the Kali Yuga, she has the effect of it, is what she's saying. Kali versus Irma, Kali would win any day, because Kali knows how to get out of that anger and knows how to nurture and love. But yeah, Irma is just incessantly that way until you are shamed to your knees. And then she never turns to love. She just keeps going. Sekhmet, she's more, no, I can't compare this storm to any being like that, because those beings will turn to love at some point. Irma just wipes everything out and just thinks that destruction is inevitably permanently needed. Has Kuan Yin ever come? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been meaning to channel her for about 8 months. And then by the time I get ready to channel her, there will be another more relevant being that comes through in that time. And, you know, it's kind of a joke in our office. We're like, poor Kuan Yin, she's been rescheduled 8 times, but we are going to do it. We assure you. All right, guys. We have 111 open questions, and I feel bad leaving it this way, but I need to, because self-love involves going to take care of myself at this point in time. So thank you so much for being here with me today. It was incredible. And the energies that they brought through, some of which I was expecting, were powerful, and some of which I was not expecting at all were at least revealing. So thank you for being here. We'll have another channeling in a week or two. We'll see who needs to come through, who's most relevant. Okay. Much love.